The professional experience of EDFX348 enriched my knowledge and ability to thrive in the educational context, as it offered a new experience when catering to the diversity of learners. The placement enabled me to critically reflect on my practices of the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers. This experience rather focused on challenging behaviours within the classroom. This tied closely to AITSL Standard 4, which is to create and maintain supportive and safe learning environments. In particular, Standard 4.3 was an aspect of teaching that was critically reflected on. An ability to practically approach and manage challenging behaviours of students is required in order to become a knowledgeable and proficient teacher. Prior to the first Year 8 history lesson, discussions were made with the supervising teacher about student behaviour issues with the class, which consisted of lower ability and ADHD learners. This meant that their behaviour towards learning was commonly labelled as disruptive and hyperactive. It was vital to consider how to foster an engaging first lesson and attempt to create positive relationships with students to make them feel that they could own what is happening with their behaviour. This was preferable instead of adapting an autocratic style of teaching where students felt controlled in the class and their behaviours felt forced. When teachers respond to behavioural issues by using reactive and punitive strategies, a student's well-being and learning outcomes in the lesson can be severely jeopardised, leading to poor classroom management. Overall, students with low literacy skills and ADHD can be heavily defined by teachers as impulsive, disruptive, and overactive. Many of these students may perceive themselves as isolated from other learners due to stigmas attached to them. Engaging in punitive strategies in my style of teaching would only jeopardise the emotions of my students and further disrupt the lesson. A seating plan in the first lesson was initiated as they are considered to provide better accessibility to resources and to support pupils' autonomy and independence. This plan resulted in students becoming reluctant and uncomfortable with the idea at times. However, students with ADHD and lower ability skills were willing to model positive behaviour to their peers, as in the past they believed they were deemed as challenging by previous teachers. The beginning of the lesson engaged students with the interactive brainstorm. Students exhibited the willingness to strengthen their self-efficacy as highlighted by Bandura's self-efficacy theory. However, many were reluctant to take risks and build on their confidence when encouraged to. Some students' behaviours reflected Bandura's characteristics of lower self-efficacy, in which their ability to undertake actions were limited in order to accomplish a specific learning task. With the feedback provided, I needed to think about how I could move around the class to monitor student behaviour with the seating plan and to approach students in a less confrontational manner. After receiving thorough feedback from my mentor about how to tackle disruptive behaviour, in order to meet AITSL Standard 4.3, I needed to ensure that by developing a seating plan, the physical space becomes a large contributor to effective management when students conduct their tasks. Meeting Standard 4 means that expectations, trust, and engagement need to be evident in future lessons. A teacher's self-efficacy has to also be strengthened, in which they are able to pursue challenging goals and have more resilience when managing a student's disruptive behaviour. The time frame of teaching Year 8 history was very brief. Initial seating plans will not always work because they need to be constantly monitored and adapted in order to embrace inclusiveness and the willingness to contribute any knowledge or ideas from diverse learners. In future lessons, if seating plans fail to reflect effective management, organising students in allocated grouped seats would be more enhancing to their learning and helps build rapport. They are then gaining access to the Stage 4 curriculum through autonomy, independence, and positive collaboration. The value of knowing my students and spending time on building rapport with them aligns closely to my teaching philosophy influenced by humanism. In future reference, when I continue to build connections with my students, I will have the ability to transform their behaviour and attitudes towards education. As a humanistic teacher, I have the power to positively impact a student's life through emotional, spiritual, and academic support in the classroom. Putting the students' behaviour aside and treating their diverse learning needs as unique features is valuable to students. They will be motivated to reach a sense of self-actualization at one point in their life inspired by their teacher. The value of building rapport with behavioral issue classes is a focus area of improvement and needs to be refined in order to meet the AITSL standards. It is crucial as a humanist to align my ethics with the diverse learning needs of my students and to recognize that they bring uniqueness to my class. Despite the stigma behind students with behavioral issues, I will continue to grasp onto a humanistic perspective that enables my students to flourish and thrive despite their past experiences with previous teachers.